Hello, I'm Mayor Charles Patricelli, and welcome to my second State of the City address, year 2021. When I presented the State of the City address last year in February, none of us could ever imagine what was about to come. 2020 was an unprecedented year due to the COVID pandemic. Yet, in spite of all the challenges we faced, we accomplished a great deal. I am so proud of our entire city workforce, delivering essential services to our residents under extremely difficult and uncertain conditions. This State of the City address reflects and recounts on our successes and our accomplishments in 2020, and what we hope to accomplish in 2021 and in the years to come. We had some significant staffing changes in 2020. After being elected mayor in November of 2019, my council seat was left vacant. Councilman Patricelli and I agreed to appoint lifelong city resident Barbara Diamond as my replacement immediately in 2020 at the first council meeting. Joe Lascivita came on the board in January as our new general manager. Joe was employed by the town of Colony for several years and brings with him a wealth of experience in municipal operations and planning, and also in development. In January, our finance director, Michael McNeff, resigned to take a position with the newly elected Albany County Controller, Susan Rizzo. But fortunately for us, our deputy finance director stepped in. Amanda Austin was then more than qualified for the position and was appointed as our new finance director. The police chief position was left vacated, but we just recently posted the position and we are eager to find a replacement within the next month. In September, our deputy general manager, Mark Spain, made the decision to move and leave the city to pursue other endeavors. And in December, Chris Doss, our supervisor of sanitation, also retired. And finally, our longtime legal counsel, Jordan Ubon, accepted a full-time position with the Albany County. Well, we have filled that position, the corporation counsel position, with the law firm from Goldberg and Kremer. Recreation has always been a focus of mine. From my perspective, it has been ignored far too long. If we expect to attract families to our city, we need to have the amenities for them to enjoy. Prospective residents look at the whole picture when deciding where to reside. They are looking for quality schools, parks, transportation, and the feeling that they are part of a community. This is what we hope to accomplish here. The bike path has been a discussion of many since its construction. We anticipate that it will be finished in early spring. This extension to the New York State Bike Trail will not only benefit our residents, but visitors as well. Also, due to some strong discussions, we were able to convince the Department of Transportation to fund the repaving of Broadway from the 4th Street Tunnel to 23rd Street. To further encourage our visitors to not only ride the trail, but to stop and enjoy what Watervliet has to offer, we had 2 kiosks installed to show visitors a map of what they could find in the vicinity of the bike path, such as restaurants, convenience stores, and some of the other attractions. For example, our Watervliet Historical Museum, to name a few. The Watervliet Tree Committee had an active role in selecting the types of trees recently planted along the bike path. They continue to work on the tree inventory and on programs to increase the number of trees within the city. In addition, we were the recipient of a tree maintenance grant, which allows us to remove many of those tree stumps you see all left around the city. The city also applied for a tree planting grant with National Grid to replace over 50 trees throughout the city, and which we hope to hear from soon if approved. Right from the beginning of this administration, it was apparent the dome needed a facelift. Simply cleaning out several truckloads of obsolete items was a major improvement in itself, but we continued to upgrade the interior with the lobby with a new floor, some painting, and installation of security cameras. This was all done with volunteers. We also had another volunteer seal the parking lot, and then Albany County DPW came and striped it, all for just the price of materials. Lastly, we had a sign installed on the side of the building, making it appear like an official recreation building and not just a warehouse. In early March, we applied to the Tri-City Valley Cats for their 4 and 24 field renovation program to have our girls' softball field at the Civic Center renovated. We were accepted, and in September, a full team of Valley Cats personnel, along with a few city volunteers, worked to create a certified official girls softball infield. This project alone would have cost over $35,000. We have a total of 4 outside basketball courts in our parks, and all but one was in good condition. The Clinton Park Court was breaking up and needed to be upgraded for the past few years. The need was obvious, but the city was unable to financially come up with the necessary funds to resurface the court. Thanks to Chris McCabe and some others who stepped in and purchased the blacktop and provided the labor to resurface the court, and then also they have it striped. The estimated value of this was nearly $20,000. But more importantly, we now have a court that our kids can use properly and safely. Thank you to all those that have participated. Hudson Shores Park has been a work in progress since last spring. Over 30 elm trees were diseased and needed to be removed before someone was injured from the falling branches. They were removed in the fall, and in addition, the shoreline was so full of weeds and trees that it was nearly impossible to see and enjoy the river. With the help of Albany County DPW workers again, and our own DPW staff, we removed the overgrowth and now have a clear view of the river to enjoy. We also collaborated with Albany County to stripe the road from 787 to 23rd Street. This estimated savings to the city was approximately $23,000. Special thanks to Dan McCoy and to the entire DPW staff from Albany County for all their help and support in getting some of this work done. Our area Boy Scout troop painted 30 picnic tables as one of their service projects. This, along with so many other volunteer groups, helped free up our city crews and allow them to concentrate on other needed projects. Work didn't stop there. The Watervliet Housing Authority summer crew came in to stripe the parking lot at Hudson Shores, which spruced up the entire site. Gravel was also placed in the off-road parking areas so that to provide a clean base without visitors stepping into mud when wet. Also, a volunteer group called the River Keepers came in to clean the park shoreline in October. They cleaned up literally hundreds and hundreds of pounds of garbage along the shoreline. The intent of this park is for visitors to relax and enjoy and absorb the beauty of the river's edge. We purchased some additional charcoal cookers and plan to add more picnic tables this coming spring. In addition, we'll be installing some couple swings. This is yet another place for someone to sit and enjoy the river's view. As with so many of the other projects, Redbird Development Partners donated the cost of the swings and the materials, and Tom Conley of Conley Construction in Green Island installed the framing work for the structure to hold the swings. Again, we accomplished this at no cost to the city. Typically, Hudson Shores Park was used for birthday parties, graduation parties, showers, and cookouts. This is still the case. Although these are great uses, we wanted to seek out other activities. For example, in the fall, we hosted a theatrical play, a craft fair, and a socially distanced Halloween party for our city's children. In 2021, we plan on hosting a car show, a farmer's market on Sundays, and more theatrical performances. During the holiday season, we mounted 9 steel Christmas trees near the pavilion. These were donated by Strex and Watervliet with the help of Ackroyd Metal Fabricators in Minneans, and decorated with LED lights donated by our city residents. This made a beautiful decoration for everyone to see and especially enjoy from around, even from 787 and downtown Troy, and we hope to expand this next year as well. Scheduling the use of our ball fields, the dome, and parks can be a challenge for residents and organizations. For this reason, a scheduling program was developed. Those interested can go to the watervlietbooking.org site to check out the availability of the venue that they are interested in. This program simplifies the process for both administration and prospective users. If anyone needs assistance in booking a location, please call Chris Chartrand at 518-270-3815. That's the mayor's office. We have seen a huge increase in interest in the facilities, and we want it to continue and benefit everyone. Due to COVID, we had to cancel our annual city events, such as the Breakfast with the Easter Bunny, the Memorial Day Parade, the Arsenal City Run, and the annual tree lighting. But we ended the year with a wonderful Christmas parade throughout the city. Volunteers organized participants in the parade route, again, not letting COVID stop us from some sense of normalcy. Speaking of the annual tree lighting, the city has traditionally handed out ornaments. I felt that I could not justify spending nearly $2,000 for ornaments and thought that maybe someone could make homemade ornaments that looked like masks. Lucy Ryan took on the challenge and made over 300 of these mask-style ornaments. They were handed out primarily at the Victorian Christmas exhibit at the Dutch Reformed Church. We still have a very limited quantity of ornaments left, and if you would like one, please call my office, and we'll have one sent to you. I can't thank Lucy Ryan enough for all her help and hard work in making that possible. Thank you, Lucy. Last but certainly not least, a dog park was installed at Clinton Park through the generous donation of the Watervliet Charitable Foundation. The foundation donated approximately $4,500 for fencing needed to separate both the large and the small dogs in the park. COVID certainly did a number on everyone, not just here, but throughout the world. Many of our friends and families were touched by the virus, and unfortunately some succumbed to it. Our deepest sympathies and condolences to the families who lost a loved one. We have a great community with residents who care a great deal about keeping it strong. During the pandemic, many stepped up and helped make the situation a little less stressful. Groups still gathered to help clean up our streets, our parks, and buildings, knowing the enormous burden it was placing on our manpower. Unfortunately, due to the financial shortfall and not knowing how deep the financial cuts would be, we needed to furlough 3 of our full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. We still tried to provide the same level of services with less manpower, but this was certainly a challenge. And we are very, very appreciative to the so many residents that helped us out and understood and recognized that what we were up against during this time all together. As a person who has seen firsthand the difficulty of residents struggling due to their financial situation, we immediately started to work on food distribution. Beginning in March, many of us joined together in unloading trucks, filling boxes with food, and distributing them to residents, at least twice a month. Then the most amazing partnership happened. Redemption Church was approached to help, and they not only provided the help, but also took over the entire operation of the distribution. Distribution was originally located at the Dome and eventually was moved to their church location on 6th Avenue. We now average over 200 plus boxes donated every 2 weeks to our residents and to whomever needs them from the area. The organization called Feed Albany was also approached on several occasions, and each time they generously and graciously provided over 250 hot meals for our residents. Our volunteers picked these meals up in Albany, returned to Watervliet, and distributed them at our municipal center in the evening. We tried to make sure our children didn't miss out on during this pandemic in some way or another. A small group of us got together and delivered balloons to the homes of every child who had a birthday between March and June. Over 600 children received balloons to give them a sense that we were with them and that their special day would not be forgotten. Many of them, of course, would have had parties at their home or in school, but with the pandemic, this just wasn't possible. A huge thank you again to all those who every day of the week for 3 solid months went out and delivered balloons. In addition, the Watervliet Police Department and the Watervliet Fire Department participated in birthday caravans and did an enormous and fantastic job, which became the norm throughout this country. With the pandemic, many of our recreational programs were either partially or fully cut. We were not able to open up our swimming pool last summer, probably the first time this ever happened. Financial uncertainty, strict occupancy and social distancing guidelines to comply with COVID, and the lack of certified lifeguards were some of the main reasons. However, this afforded us the opportunity to do much needed work in the pool house, which was in really deplorable condition. We made repairs to the roof, painted the inside of the building, and worked on the overall appearance. We'll be ready, if permissible, this coming summer. To adhere to social distancing protocols that resulted from COVID, we are forced to close our parks. This also was unheard of before, and I'd like to thank the residents for complying with this order. Thankfully, in the early summer, we were able to reopen our parks, and we operated 3 spray pools for our younger children. With the help of volunteers, they turned the pools on and off, which allowed us to open them earlier and stay open later and operate the pools even on the weekend. This is yet another example of the strong community partnership. The City Hall building itself has been ignored for many years. The heating system has issues back when I first worked here in 1977. Since then, patches were made and the system is still unreliable, either overheating or not heating at all. Also, the windows are so old that some of them have glass falling out and all need plastic over them just to keep out the cold air. Within weeks of taking office, Assemblyman John McDonald and Senator Neil Breslin secured funding to help us with both these projects in the amount of approximately $600,000. Then, of course, COVID hit, and the state pretty much shut down, slowing down the paperwork. As of today, we're still waiting for some of the approvals, but as I am told, we're close. These 2 projects alone will save the city thousands of dollars in wasted heating costs over the years to come, but more so to provide decent working conditions that everyone here should have, at least at their place of employment. No one can dispute the City Hall is a beautiful building, but the cleaning was not up to par. The marble floors were all stripped and cleaned and polished, and now have a presentation that is respectful. This was all pre-COVID, and we were glad that we were able to kind of squeeze it in. As many of you know, the city owns the Civic Center's building. After a severe rainstorm in August, it was discovered that there were breaches in the underground foundation of the Civic Center, which caused flooding to one of the basement exercise rooms. The floor had to be taken up, the sheetrock had to be removed and replaced, and the room needed to be repainted. Thanks to volunteers like Michael Testo and Rich Foley for donating their time and the materials to put the room back together. Also, we secured a contractor to remove the soil around the affected area on the outside of the building, and parged and patched the foundation to avoid further damage. This may not seem like a major accomplishment, but the repairs were completed in a reasonable amount of time and at a minimal cost to the city. The Dutch Reformed Church, which includes the Watervliet Historical Museum, needed repairs and improvements as well. The removal of the tower, the bell tower, was completed in 2020, and bids were approved to have the heating system installed in the building. A committee was formed to come up with different uses for the church. We've had discussions with the state of New York to possibly convert the church into the new city court. Also, we are preparing to use the church, at least the church portion of the building, for public meetings, recitals, and small plays, and possibly even wedding ceremonies. A group of volunteers from the museum recently held their Victorian Christmas exhibit, highlighting some of the great artifacts the museum has to offer. We will continue to work to make this beautiful building a viable use of space. When the bell tower was taken down from the church, the bell was removed and stored at Streck's machine shop at the other end of the city on 1st Street. We have been working on securing a location for the bell that would highlight the history of our city. Again, keeping in mind that finances were in short supply, we realized that the city would not be able to afford to build an appropriate shelter to display our bell. Again, we were fortunate enough to secure a grant from the Watervliet Charitable Foundation, and plans are now in the works to build such a shelter. We have designed the shelter entrance at the Congress Street Bridge site, just on the south side of the bridge, between the bridge and AutoZone. We are hoping that this will provide a gateway to the city and welcome visitors to it. Our veteran military banners have been growing significantly. We now have over 450 banners on the poles throughout the city. The large number has made it even more difficult to keep up with the usual installing them in the spring and removing them in the fall. We made the decision to leave the banners up year-round and to do maintenance on them as needed. We have found that many of the original banners have now faded and need to be replaced. Those banners which are not replaced by a family must be removed out of respect of that veteran. New York State's bail reform changes went into effect on January 1st, 2020, presenting many new challenges for the police departments throughout the state. The department overcame these challenges and have adapted to these new requirements. During 2020, the Watervliet Police Department answered 14,816 calls for service and made 472 arrests. As we all know, there has been unprecedented violence in the communities surrounding us. We are extremely fortunate to report that there has been no significant gun violence in our city. Following the tragic death of George Floyd on May 25, 2020, there were nationwide protests calling for police reform in the United States. During the protests in Albany, our police force was there helping to regain peace and stabilize the situation. When a peaceful protest was scheduled for June 7th in Troy, our police force was put on standby in support of our neighboring city, ensuring those in attendance had their First Amendment rights to peacefully protest be protected from those wishing to mask the protests as a means to engage in criminal activity. In June, Governor Cuomo signed an Executive Order 203, requiring each local government in New York State to adopt a policing reform plan that will maintain public safety while building mutual trust and respect between the police and the communities that they serve. We put together a committee of qualified city residents, and after regularly meeting for the past 5 months, compiled a preliminary plan. A final plan is to be due to the Governor's office by April 1st, 2021. Acting Chief Brian Strock and several members of the police departments have been instrumental in ensuring that this endeavor was successful. You can view the proposed plan by going to our website. You'll find it both very interesting and very professional, a tribute to our department. Always taking steps to protect our residents and businesses, the Watervliet Police Department distributed over 1,600 masks. This was especially helpful in the beginning of our pandemic when it caught everybody by surprise. And this gesture by the police department helped relieve some of that stress our residents were facing. I would like to thank Lieutenant Brian Strock for taking on the duties of acting chief in May. He has done an excellent job, and we're extremely thankful that he stepped up during this very difficult year. A difficult year not for only our police department, but the departments across the country. I'd also like to at this time congratulate Sergeant Walter Ellis on his retirement in April. And we also like to welcome two new hires in 2020 was Patrolman Joseph McQueen and Patrolman Jared Ellis. And our first 2021 hire, Sean Kawaza, who will be sworn in later this month. The Watervliet Fire Department is led by Chief Tom Garrett and continued to provide services in 2020 and kept the department safe and functioning. Firefighter Tom Corcoran is a designated EMS coordinator. He helped provide the guidance and training on COVID-19, not only for the fire department, but for all the agencies and organizations in our city. Tom continued to keep pace with the constantly changing CDC guidance and promoted the suggested guidelines to all our residents. Tom was instrumental in all phases of the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, the fire department responded to 2,472 calls, 297 which were mutual aid calls, and had a total of 1,151 ambulance transports. The fire department's continuing education training has been completely online since mid-March 2020 due to COVID-19. In addition, even though in-person public safety training was on pause in 2020, all hazards events response planning that leverages the capabilities of the police and the fire departments working together was a focus of this past year. In July, the city was awarded an Assistance to Firefighters grant, or what they call AFG, from the federal government for over $458,000. This award included funding for cardiac monitors and defibrillators, which allows our EMTs and paramedics to assess various vital signs and provide advanced life support treatment for cardiac emergencies. Additionally, we received funding to send 3 members of the department to an 11-month state-certified paramedic program. The funding also enables us to be fully staffed, covering the firefighters who are attending the training without incurring overtime. The training began in September of 2020 and will be completed in August of this year. I would like to take a moment to thank Captain Tom Egan. Captain Egan has been a member of the Watervliet Fire Department for over 27 years, and he writes these grants for the city. Over the course of his career, he has received close to $2.5 million in funding for the City of Watervliet Fire Department, and has successfully assisted other departments within the mutual aid system. Also, Lieutenant Scott Rentz retired in early 2020 after 20 years on the job, and 2 firefighters, Timothy Delisle and Vincent Ellis, were promoted to lieutenant. The water department provides approximately 23 million gallons of drinking water a day through a transmission line that is nearly 20 miles long, starting in the town of Gilliland, and what we call French's Mills. The department operates with a 4-man staff and is responsible for the maintenance of the reservoir, the transmission line, the filtration plant on Route 155, and water and sewer distribution lines throughout the city. There are approximately 26 miles of water lines, 500 catch basins, and 250 fire hydrants, 35 miles of sewer lines, and the 1.2 megawatt hydroelectric plant located at the dam in the town of Gilliland. We supply up to 4 million gallons of water to Gilliland per day and have an emergency valve to supply or receive water from Menands, Green Island, and Colony in the event it is needed. This year, the Water Department, with the help of Albany County DPW, also cleaned out 52 catch basins, and this will continue until they are all cleaned out this year. In addition, volunteers painted all 250 fire hydrants throughout the city, again to show we care about our city's appearance. We started a conversation with the town of Gilliland to see how we could work better together to maintain the reservoir to continue to provide clean and safe drinking water. We are also working on how to best eliminate or at least reduce the water chestnuts in the reservoir. Our focus for the last 2 years is to obtain approval of our license with the federal government for the operation of our hydroelectric plant. This is a 3-year process, and I'm optimistic that we'll be obtaining approval soon. This past year, 9th Avenue from 16th Street to 19th Street was torn up to install a new 8-inch water main. This project cost $485,000, and $177,000 of this project was covered under the lead lateral replacement grant. The road was repaved, and every water lateral that had a lead connection was replaced. Other projects in 2020 included the upgrade of our electrical interconnect between the hydroelectric plant and National Grid, a $3 million grant for our filter plant improvements, and a $1.2 million grant for the combined sewer overflow, which is a separation project, and also installation of a new drinking water interconnect with Green Island this past summer. The Department of Public Works, or DPW, has a total of 5 men. Their responsibility is to maintain 46 miles of roadways, the various parks and fields, grass and snow removal on city-owned properties, the veteran banners, and some of the municipal building work. We currently have 7 vehicles, a sweeper, and 2 front-end loaders, along with a host of lawn and snow equipment. As mentioned previously, due to COVID, it was necessary to furlough 3 employees from the DPW and sanitation departments in the spring of 2020. This required the 3 departments to work even closer together to keep up with the services we provide to our residents. Some services, unfortunately, like the sweeper and some other park work, had to be curtailed. Once our furloughed employees returned to work in July, we were able to continue to catch up with some of these postponed work items. The department lacked modern-day technology, such as a work order system, a preventive maintenance system, and a vehicle maintenance system. We recently purchased a computerized work order system, and we are now working on a preventive maintenance system as well. We are hoping that eventually residents will be able to report an issue that needs attention and it can be monitored electronically. Well, 2020 ended in a bang. The snowstorm in December was one for the record books. Just about 2 feet of snow was dumped in less than 24 hours. Our DPW department deserves a big round of applause for the hard work that they put in to ensure that our roadways are as safe as possible during these snowstorms. This year, we hope to work with the town of Colony to repave 8th Avenue from 1st Street to 8th Street. This will save the city thousands of dollars by sharing the cost of labor with the town of Colony. A little on sanitation. Residential services, trash and recycling continued during the shutdown quarantine period, and I would like to take a moment to recognize the sanitation department for their efforts. City refuse and recycling pickup continues to be a constant battle, presenting so many different challenges. Maintenance costs of equipment, manpower, and the ever-ongoing fluctuation of dumping fees and recycling costs are just a few. What was a lucrative program in the past changes on a daily basis. The city has 3 garbage trucks, and in June of 2020, we received a new sanitation truck donated by Twin Bridges owner Scott Earl, who grew up here in the city of Watervliet. This is by far the largest donation ever received by the city, and we will be forever grateful to Scott. Knowing the financial stress the city was under, his donation was valued at more than $300,000. Watervliet has contracted with the town of Colony to pick up their garbage in Maplewood. This shared service agreement includes the compensation for our workers' hours along with limited use of the Colony landfill and other perks. This shared service agreement is a win for both communities. Bulk item disposal is a service that has been always provided to our residents, and my administration feels it should be continued in some form or another. We have designated 1 day per month for bulk pickups. Residents now can come to City Hall, fill out the form, and pay a $25 fee. We are limiting the number of monthly pickups on the first-come, first-served basis to provide a better service, whereby making sure everyone who signed up has their items taken away on the day they're scheduled. Also in 2020, the city sponsored an electronics recycling day in June, and in collaboration with Dale Accounting, held a Shred It for our community in October. This also allowed the residents to safely dispose of important documents at no cost to them. Another decision was made to discontinue the Watervliet Organic Waste, or what we call the WOW program. This is an excellent way to help reduce landfill tonnage and is a possible source of methane gas production for heating. However, we had major issues such as the lack of participation by residents, the poor marketing of the program, and the lack of manpower to run the facility, which prohibited us from running a viable program. The total number of residents participating in the program was less than 30. This number was not nearly sufficient to produce enough of a product to produce gas. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Doss retired in December. Chris was a supervisor of the sanitation department for the last 10 years. But he worked for the city for over 30 years. We wish him well in his retirement. Economic development is the backbone to every city, and Watervliet is no different. During 2020, I visited every business at least twice to talk and listen to the needs and issues of business owners were facing. We will continue to have a dialogue to provide stronger and easier communication with all the businesses and the administration. We are in the process of conducting a bridge study with the City of Troy as a partner. This study is to find ways to increase the business's attractiveness on both sides of the river. The focus is from 23rd Street, Hudson Shores Park to 16th Street, and then 19th Street to 5th Avenue. We are looking to increase the walkability of the area to attract more outside visitors to this section of Watervliet. The study also focuses on increasing safe access to the bike path. This study goes hand in hand with another study which we call the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, or DRI. We are looking to apply for state funding to support the development of the 19th Street area. This funding is a game changer and will continue to work toward ideas and suggestions with residents, businesses, and consultants to look to the future of our city. In November, Councilwoman Diamond, Councilman Torrencello, and I met with city officials in Hudson to see how their plan was used and how they developed their DRI funding strategy for their downtown. We walked away with some great ideas and possibilities for Watervliet. We will continue to work with our local communities as their success is ours as well. COVID has not only had a financial stress on the city, but many of our city businesses, especially the taverns and restaurants. For this reason, we relaxed some of our regulations to allow tenting, outside seating, and anything else to give the businesses the ability to survive this pandemic. In addition, we reallocated some funds to give grants to those businesses that were impacted severely by this pandemic. Several businesses were given a grant up to $5,000 that suffered financially to help them at least absorb some of the financial strain during these tough times. We have even assisted our neighbors in Colony and Green Island by loaning picnic tables or doing whatever we possibly could for maybe the On the Hill Cafe and allowing Metabolic Meltdown to use Hudson Shores Park. I'm also proud to announce that the city will be holding the first restaurant week from February 28th to March 6th, again to help discover what Watervliet has to offer and encourage our residents to enjoy some of the Watervliet's finest dining. More of this will be coming soon. In 2020, we did see some businesses shut down or relocate, but fortunately, most locations quickly gained new tenants. I believe communication is one of the utmost importance, and I want business owners to know that we are here in this all together. And if the city can help in any way or anything possible, please give us a call. The city will continue to work with the Albany County Land Bank to attract suitable businesses. We now have a seat on the Land Bank's Board of Directors, enabling us to help move these projects along at a quicker pace and make these vacant buildings tax-producing parcels once again. I am happy to announce that before the pandemic started, we applied for and received approval to install electric charging stations on city-owned properties. These charging stations will be installed in the coming weeks. We recently had an opening on our planning department, and we are fortunate to have a resident that is an architect appointed to this board. This will help provide some additional expertise and move our community forward. I want to thank Eli Sands for volunteering for this position. In 2020, the Watervliet Building Department issued 188 permits and conducted 453 residential occupancy permit inspections. Code enforcement officers wrote 520 violations for various reasons. Due to COVID, though, the courts were closed or had to follow new procedures, not allowing the building department to summon property owners to court or fine them if they did not show up for their court appearance. This made enforcement difficult, but we will continue to do our best to provide safe and decent housing for all our residents. The building department's vacant building manager continues to monitor and inspect the vacant buildings within the city. Through these efforts, the city has been able to identify 70 vacant properties and will continue to do so. Through the vacant building program, the city can hold bank-owned properties accountable and force them into compliance. If you know of a building that's vacant and you want to report the possible vacant building, please call the building department at 518-270-3800 extension 104. As in every business, government isn't any different. The finance department is one of the most important departments. It is not only where bills are paid or taxes are collected, but where budgetary monitoring is done daily and close attention is paid to the present and projections of financial decisions are made that will look into the future. And these decisions must be financially sound and businesslike. Administrations, leaderships change, and government, and it also is important to look ahead for them to ensure that these transitions and decisions that are made are both efficient and sound. To say 2020 was unpredictable is an understatement. We had no idea how COVID would affect sales tax revenue, government grant payments, state aid, or adjustments were made almost on a daily basis. And all departments that took responsibility to reduce their expenses and where applicable their overtime. I am proud of the entire staff and grateful that all department heads pitched in to make this a reality. And especially to our finance director, thank you for your constant input and guidance in looking through this process. In this day and age, technology is a must, and I believe in the use of technology, and it is even especially more important in finance. It is near impossible, especially with the limited staff, to be able to handle day-to-day activities, reports, and forecasts without proper software system. This has been on our want list for years, and finally this year we made it happen. In 2019, the city was approved for funding under the New York State Fiscal Review Board, or what they call the FRB. With the stipulation, we follow the board's recommendations. Updating our computer system was part of this report. We paid the vendor for the new system, and now due to COVID, we are in limbo waiting to hear if we'll receive the funds as promised. We will continue to reach out to our elected officials and encourage the state to honor their commitment. When my term began last January, I knew it was my responsibility to motivate and encourage Watervliet residents to participate in the census. Technology was in my favor when it was announced, and you could respond from a smartphone. What could go wrong? Now the pandemic happened, and that's what went wrong. Suddenly, door-to-door visits and community events were out of question. We had to think outside the box and utilize the resources we had to encourage our residents in participating in the census. This included mailing postcards, pop-up tents at Stewart's and Price Chopper, and even word of mouth, just to be able to make sure that all our residents were counted. I would like to thank all those residents who participated, and hopefully that our efforts will be successful and will be properly represented in the 2020 census. So what does the future hold for 2021? We are now in the second month of 2021, and we continue to work on strategies to improve the quality of life here in Watervliet. We will continue to search for and apply for grants to help reduce the fiscal impact, but still be able to provide our needed improvements. We plan on working on improvements to our filtration plant this year. Many of these needed attention for the past several years, if not more. The reservoir is our largest asset, and we plan on working on ways to help improve the water quality for both Watervliet and also for the town of Gilliland, our customer. We receive over $800,000 in water rents for the town of Gilliland. We plan on purchasing our LED street lights, and this has been on the agenda for the past 3 years. And this year we intend to move forward on this proposal. Purchasing of the LED street lights will help reduce the fiscal impact and savings to the city in future years. The New York State Department of Health awarded the city money to replace lead laterals throughout the city. We started this when we replaced a water main on 9th Avenue. And now we are offering grants to the city residents, and you can ask or call our general manager's office if you're interested in participating in this program. Garbage pickup is a necessity, and we'll continue to investigate ways of reducing our landfill tonnage and our overall costs. We're hoping to move forward on different ideas that will help reduce our costs in the years to come. Services to our residents are important and are more vital during this pandemic, namely, more so for our senior citizens. We need to look for ways to improve these services to all our seniors residing here and provide the services they need, not only in program activities, but also in the areas of health care and other areas as well. The Watervliet Historical Museum is rich in history. The memorabilia and interesting displays show the city's heritage and what brought us to where we are today. We will continue to support the program and look for ways to attract residents to visit and use this facility. The swimming pool will be ready if the state and county officials lift the stringent requirements for usage. The building has been cleaned and upgraded, and we're actively recruiting lifeguards. So please call my office if you know of any interested child looking to work as a lifeguard for the summer. In addition, we hope to include more picnic tables and umbrellas at the pool to provide a more family-like atmosphere and make it more comfortable for our residents to enjoy. As they say, the first impression is the best impression, and that is what we intend to keep in mind here in Watervliet. It may take years to accomplish, but it is important that we begin. Our entrances and main streets need to be attractive and clean. We will continue to work with Code Enforcement Department to revive the nuisance abatement program. We intend to help residents, landlords, and businesses as much as possible, but they also must be responsible on their end. This is a partnership, but when a stakeholder is not in compliance, there needs to be consequences. The last thing we want to do is drive out good residences and homeowners. We cannot, as a city administration, be responsible for every problem, but we can have a path to help reduce the nuisance. We will continue to encourage citizen participation. We intend to offer more opportunities for our residents to talk to our elected and administrative officials. I truly believe when residents hear the whole story, they can better understand how the decision was made and the reasons behind such decisions. As I said earlier, we will continue to promote citywide functions at Hudson Shores Park, including the car shows, winter programs, craft fairs, etc. We'll increase our holiday lights in the park and are currently looking to bring back access to the river by hosting the kayak docks. We currently have a grant available to improve the shoreline, and we will be working on this design through the summer. In addition, we are hoping and considering to have a restaurant back on the shore again. No promises, but we're going to do our best. A small but inexpensive idea has been suggested to have water fountains at each park near our basketball courts. Just little things that help make these improvements that much more important. Steps are being taken now to see what funding we can obtain and the best course of action to make all this a reality. This presentation is an example of how we continuously work on sharing information. I would like to take advantage of this time to encourage you to sign up even for our emergency notification system. This allows residents to provide a phone number and or email to receive notifications regarding snow emergencies, service interruptions, food distributions, and other activities that affect your traffic flow. I would encourage all residents to sign up for this powerful tool. You can easily go to our Watervliet website at watervliet.com and click on Emergency Information Center and click Sign Up, or you can simply text your zip code to 88877. If you have difficulty signing up, do not hesitate to call my office for assistance. As difficult as 2020 was, we accomplished a great deal, and we are very proud of that. We look forward to the rest of this year and the future years with optimism and excitement. We are a community with a lot of heart and a lot of grit. And if we all work together, we can make Watervliet a shining star along the Hudson. And as we begin to rebound from the effects of COVID-19, we ask that you stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you for taking time to join me tonight. And I would like to thank Councilwoman Barbara Diamond, Councilman Peter Torrencello, as my partners on the City Council. We are here to help you and serve you to the best of our abilities. Again, thank you for taking the time to join me today.